The Australian Financial Review says that what we're seeing here with Mercedes-Benz moving out of flagship buildings and Chinese car manufacturers moving in, we've actually seen this in China as well as in Australia, this is the future. The reason, says the Australian Financial Review, is because China's car makers are becoming luxury players at non-luxury car prices. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Next to Sydney's domestic airport at Mascot, and this is where I actually picked up my car from when I bought it, is a spectacular two-story showroom built by Mercedes-Benz in 2017 to highlight its most expensive versions of its cars, the high-performance, very pricey AMG models. The facility remains packed with upmarket machines, but now they're all Chinese. Mercedes-Benz's slogan, "the company that invented the car," has departed this flagship building. And Xpeng or Xiaopeng's slogan, "explore the future," has moved in. Examples of the fully electric G6, the only Xpeng currently on sale in Australia, all in bright white showrooms across the country, places like Crown and other flagship locations, sitting under huge circular LED lights. You can see what I think could be the future of Australia's automotive industry. And a lot of people hate me for saying this, but the Chinese are coming, they're here, and they're about to take over. The Chinese SUV is as feature-packed, says the Financial Review, as any mid-sized Mercedes, and the interior design, quality of materials, and fit and finish are all excellent. I've owned mine for 10 months, and I've got to say, it's been the best car that I've ever owned. The G6 is quick, roomy, and handles well as well. Yet the price starts from around the mid $55,000 mark. Upstairs, and you'll see two forthcoming models. The G9 SUV, a large Napa leather-lined SUV with air suspension, aimed squarely at the Range Rover Sport and similar luxury cars, and the equally upmarket Xpeng X9 people mover. These two vehicles, also fully electric, will cost up to $100,000 when they go on sale next year, and provide further proof that phase 2 of the Chinese assault on Australia's car market is underway. Now, I should mention, interestingly, Mercedes-Benz sales are really struggling worldwide this year and even in Australia. From negligible sales 10 years ago, China now provides nearly 20% of our new cars, behind only Thailand and Japan, but not far off. And that's where Japan assembles many of its Australia-bound cars to take advantage of lower labor costs and the Australia-Thailand Free Trade Agreement. However, we can see where things are going if you look to Thailand, where Japanese car sales have been falling rapidly as a result of an influx of Chinese electric ones. The rapid growth of Chinese brands has been achieved on the back of super sharp prices, but now they are set on moving up the value chain as well. It's not just cheap, affordable cars that are coming to the country. Now, this has many of the best known luxury brands here in Australia, including the German big three, BMW, Audi, and Mercedes, kind of nervously watching their rearview mirrors. The Financial Review says that far more vulnerable, though, are the mid-level prestige car makers like Volkswagen, Skoda, Mazda, and Tesla. But if you look to China, you'll see that market share is being taken from all brands. That includes luxury car brands, and that's been a big problem for them this year. There are already 17 Chinese brands on sale in Australia, and a new brand was just recently announced, Denza. Denza are basically BYD's luxury brand, and BYD are bringing that luxury offshoot to compete head-to-head with Xpeng and Zeekr. And here's what the new head of Denza had to say. "I have dozens of applications from Australian dealers willing to invest millions of dollars to be a Denza dealer. My phone won't stop ringing." Now, I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but I can see that that could be possible. He says things were much harder to get moving when he helped set up BYD's operations in Australia 3 years ago. Yet in that short time, BYD is now eighth on the Australian sales charts, behind another Chinese brand, Great Wall Motors. Denza will start taking orders in Australia late this year and deliver its first cars in early 2026. It hasn't confirmed the lineup or pricing, though Harlan hints a large luxury SUV will be an early inclusion. From a price point, we'll be at the higher end of some of the Japanese and Korean cars that are now getting into the $100,000 range. There's a conquest opportunity with some of the German cars as well. A Centre for International Economics report released in July predicts that Chinese-built vehicles will achieve a 43% market share of the entire Australian new car market by 2035, which would mean they would have nearly a monopoly and much higher market share than any other country worldwide. By then, it estimates that Japan's share will have fallen to half what it is today, to only 16%. Today, it's at 32%. So the predictions, even from economists, are saying it's inevitable that China will take over the majority of the Australian car market eventually. Several industry observers that I've spoken to say that 43% by 2035 is understating things, particularly as Western makers shift more production to China. Tesla, Kia, Hyundai, BMW, many of them, Nissan, Honda, they're moving a lot of their export models to China now. James Vortman, the CEO of the Australian Automotive Dealer Association, which commissioned the CIE report, says production costs are actually falling in China, while in other automotive producing countries, costs have been on an upwards trajectory. China's cost advantages are due to furious domestic competition, government subsidies, supply chain efficiencies, and, well, most of all, unprecedented scale. China produced 32 million cars last year, more than the US, Japan, South Korea, Germany, France, and England combined. Vortman believes our recent new vehicle efficiency standards, which set CO2 emissions targets for each car importer and penalties if they don't hit them, will further help Chinese makers here because of their dominance in electric cars and plug-in hybrids. They basically own that market when it comes to Australia. Chinese manufacturers will meet these targets and then generate credits, which they can monetize and use to subsidize their products even further. A little bit like Tesla, right? Tesla have actually made more than $12 billion from the sales of carbon credits, which they've gotten from selling electric cars. The challenges. There's not much brand awareness of some of these new cars now in our showrooms, said Vortman. But we're also finding that Australians are pretty willing to give new brands a crack. And I would agree with that. Brand loyalty isn't what it used to be. And a lot of the research we've seen says that the country of origin isn't a major determining factor for a lot of those people anymore. CEO of XPeng, Jason Clark, says that Australians make negative generalizations about Chinese vehicles and particularly Chinese EVs, but that's starting to change. He said this, "Our job has been to get as many Aussies as we can into the car. It's more effective than any number of billboards or ads or social media posts. Getting people to actually experience the car leads to a fundamental shift in attitudes. It's a positive shock that there is this quality of vehicle at that price point." And Jason Clark's absolutely right. I've found that as soon as you get someone driving an EV, particularly a good one, they change their mind completely from basically hating EVs or being completely scared of them, petrified almost, to saying, this is going to be my next car. BYD also has a brand above Denza called Yangwang, and that could come here too. And they have super luxury cars that cost up to 400,000 Australian dollars, supercars and extreme luxury cars. Then you've got Zeekr, who have a $135,000 luxury electric van, which I'm currently driving at the moment. And I've got to tell you, that's the most luxurious vehicle that I've ever sat in. I don't think there's anything the German manufacturers are making that actually competes with it right now. Chinese luxury brand IM has just launched in Australia, marketed as IM presented by MG. And it's launched an $80,000 sedan plus SUV models. MG already sells a $115,000 Roadster or an electric convertible. Zeekr also sells that luxury car that I talked about, but they've also got the new Zeekr 7X, which compares very favorably with the Tesla Model Y, and I think beats it in most categories. Australia actually has a record for adopting new vehicles, even when they didn't know that much about them. That actually started all the way back with the Volkswagen Beetle. We became a major market for Japanese cars as well in the 1960s, while Korean manufacturers actually launched here in the 90s and took massive market share. So what are some of the reasons, some of the advantages that China has? Well, factors in favor of the Chinese way of making vehicles include their very short model development time. They're incredibly fast. This allows really fast pivoting to meet market taste, to respond to customers saying, no, we didn't want that feature, we didn't like those touch buttons, we didn't like that. They'll change them incredibly quickly. And they actually monitor social media constantly. They monitor YouTube to see what people are saying in order to actually give people what they think people want. Chinese car makers expected the market to be primarily EV by 2030. And it appears as though actually the world is on track to hit that. But here's the thing, there is far too many car makers in China. There is literally more than 90 electric car brands. Some are better than others, and the truth is, it can be hit and miss. There's some brands out there that you probably wouldn't want to own one of their EVs no matter how cheap it was. But regardless of that, there's some really good quality cars, and there is just too many car brands. That means all the excess production leaves room for Chinese car brands to say, well, we need somewhere to ship these cars. And Australia's close by, and there's no tariffs on our cars if we sell them in Australia. There is vast excess capacity in Chinese car factories, particularly because new ones are being built almost every week. So mergers and shutdowns will happen as well. Many Australian buyers, though, are worried about ending up with what the trade calls an orphan. But I can tell you right now, I think it's more likely that if they buy a Nissan or some other Japanese car brands, they're actually more likely to end up with an orphan if you look at the trajectory of some of those brands themselves. And there's some other big advantages that these Chinese car manufacturers have as well. Most of these factories are only building EVs. Most Chinese car plants have been built from a clean slate in the past 5 to 10 years with new technology, software, and robotics that is, well, the best in the world. That's one of the reasons why they can make cars faster and at a higher quality than most other places on the planet. So as you can see, Chinese cars are going mainstream. The AFR, which is predominantly a report, basically predominantly a newspaper or a source of media that's really more right-wing. Even they're saying now that electric cars are the future. Even they're admitting to the fact that the Chinese are disrupting legacy automakers, and they're not just disrupting them, but the future of the automotive industry, regardless of our feelings, regardless of what we want to happen, it's moving towards China at a pace that I think no one in the mainstream media, no one really in the automotive industry, other than people like Sandy Munro, actually predicted. What are your thoughts? Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.